Hello, ADC peeps. My name is Simon Dixon, and this is DixonBaxi.
Hi, everyone.
And together we created DixonBaxi. So I'm going to see if this clicker works. It does. It's gone forward. So we're going to go back in time to 2001. This is when we started the agency, and the answer is yes, we look like dorks. That's what we were like when we started out. And there was a number of things that we cared about as we shaped the agency. And the first thing was this idea of design for life. And we like this idea that design validates who you are as a person. It's something personal, it's in your heart and it's in your gut. But also we like the idea of designing for life out there. And as a branding agency who connect to millions of people, we like the idea of designing at scale. We like the idea of representing people everywhere, everyone from different backgrounds, different countries. So though we're based in London, we love the idea of being citizens of the world. But a lot of design and branding at scale is rounded, it's soft, it's compromised. We like the idea that you can design without mediocrity if you design for everybody everywhere. And this is the outcome. There's a best spot somewhere that I have to stand.
I think it's here. I'm supposed to.
No, here it is. I'm going to stand in the best spot so I'm not in the way of the work. So this is our body of work over many, many years. And we're very fortunate to create design systems, brand systems, and strategies for some very interesting, exciting companies like Netflix and Amazon and Sony, Nike, the Premier League, AC Milan. And we've worked for a long time together. We've worked together for 28 years. And we got to a point in our careers where we were looking at this guy, and that's Bruce Willis. And it's the first HD TV channel in India. And we suddenly realized that being busy wasn't success for us. We had started to do work just for money or just because people gave us jobs. So we decided that we had to stop what we were doing and think about why we were doing it and who we were doing it with. And we like this idea of saying no rather than yes. And it's about curation. And these are things that we've had kind of eternally in the agency. But we wanted to kind of define the reasons that we work, not just the technical and executional things. So things like disrespect or the bullshit of the industry, we don't have anything to do with that. We don't like negativity and pessimism. We're optimists at heart. We won't work for free. We don't want to do boring work either. And we don't want to work with toxic companies or people. That scale of 1 to 10, if 1 is evolution and 10 is revolution, we work in the 5 to 10 space. When we work, we want to make greater change for people because there's a lot of big problems in the world and we should be part of those solutions. And we won't work just for money. We obviously like to get paid, but the idea is the work is the thing that fulfills us.
Thanks, Hi. So fast forwarding to today, we have been doing this for 22 years. We started in 2001, and so it's 2 decades later. We have an amazing team of 50 people, and 80% of our work is international. So although we're based in London, we've always seen ourselves as world citizens. And we have this amazing opportunity to immerse ourselves in different cultures and perspectives, which we find extremely inspiring and fulfilling. And the 2 billion number actually is, which is the forward one, that one, is not our billings, unfortunately. It's the people that interact with the work that we create. So it's a slightly abstract thought that 2 billion people might interact with that work, but it's also a massive responsibility. But really for us, what it is about is the environment that we create for our team to create those ideas, the brands, and create a space for invention and ideas. So we're aligned with 2,000 books. We have spaces that are multifaceted, and they come to life because of the people there, the energy that we create together. And we're lucky enough, although we're 50, we have people from 18 different nations, and that gives us different perspectives. You know, if we're working for businesses internationally, we don't want to export London design to the world. We want to create things that feel nuanced and appropriate. And really, this is what it's about. It's about the people that we work with, the people that we work for, the audiences that we work with, but the team inside the business. And alongside that very closely is design. You know, we're really baked into it's part of our lives, as Simon said. And out of that comes money. So it has to be in that order. People, design, money. So we're going to talk about 4 drivers that we feel are very much part of our ethos. And the first one is start it uncomfortable. I'm going to step out of the best zone, but Over here is where we begin every project. It's in the place of being uncomfortable. It's a place of permission and being liberated and inventing ideas. If you do that with the client and take them on the journey, the process gets you to just right, essentially the Goldilocks moment. But if you start it safe, then that process might get you to boring, and who wants to be boring?
Let's go first.
So to give you an example of that, one of the projects that we have worked with, we've been had a relationship with Eurosport for the last decade, and we've done all sorts of things for them, for the home of the Olympics, for various sport. But at the top of last year, we rebranded them again. And this is an example of what uncomfortable is like for us. So we look at in this case, the art of sport, the poetry of it, the rawness, the visceral nature. And these are just some of the sketches that we do to explore what that is like. It's kind of a safe space to try ideas, unfettered from the details of the brief and the environment. And these are some of the sketches that we do. We're looking at motion, we're looking at art direction, language. How do you express the ideas of sport without showing any images? What does that reveal in terms of intention of motion and storytelling and how we get under the skin of the sport? We're also looking at the message and the medium. Those things go hand in hand when we're thinking about the brand. So it isn't linear, it's everything at the same time. So we're thinking about how people consume and what sport on the bus, at the pub with their mates, or at home. And all those things mean that the message and the context changes how the system works. And in this case, it came together as the canvas, a kind of fluid ecosystem that fuses sport with story, with athletes and fans, and it dials in and out. So there's a high expression, but also a mode where essentially the sport leans forward, which is the real focus. And alongside all of that expression is the need to have order. So this goes back to our craft and infographics and storytelling. So every sport needs these graphics to engage the viewer, the commentators, and so on. So we really take care in all of these details. But it comes together as a system, an ecosystem, and that's a whole bunch of things. We've got a purpose-led identity, inspiring the team inside the business to create the change through building communities, and ultimately starting again at uncomfortable to invent.
So when we think about our work, we think about the people. And we've always believed that we should be fans and be passionate about the work we create. This is a project for AC Milan. This is what I think about AC Milan. It's Rijkaard and Gullit, they're a great team. And it's a passion project. It's something we care about. We love football and sport. And it's about how you get to know the people there. So we go there, we meet them, we meet the fans, we meet the people behind the scenes, the back room. And you realize what the responsibility is. It's the press. It's their training ground, it's their museum, their history, their heritage, social media, partnerships, their foundations, their charities, and everybody, and 80,000 people in the stadium. And also it's the responsibility, this is our client sends us an email saying, my career and the career of the person I work with are in your hands now. And that's the fundamental reality of what we do, is we're shifting things substantially. And this is what a football crowd looks like 2 hours before the football match. And this is what you imagine a football crowd looks like. But the reality is, when you're creating brands for the world, you have to think about people everywhere, because different people have different relationships. Some have in the stadia, some people have in other countries. So you have to reach somebody in Malaysia, somebody in China, and speak to more than just the football, but how it fits into people's lives. And the idea that drove it was this concept called Always Milan, which is Sempre Milan. Once you're part of the Milanese family, you're always part of it. And we like the idea of radiating that idea out of the stadium to the best of Milanese culture, to the best of Italian culture, and taking that to the world. And what it did is it created a design footprint where we created a visual and brand language for the football club that was integrated into the streets. It became part of common culture. It had reference points from fashion and lifestyle and coffee shops and the humanity of life. And as Aporva says, we test, we build, we figure out the narrative, the language, what it's like physically, how do they drive up to the stadium. So it's a series of integrated elements that create that journey for people. But what it's about is how it fits into their lives. It's not about wearing the football jersey, it's about how it defines a person loving the club, whatever that level is. And it's also this idea that That's Francesca, our direct client. We have a relationship with them. We've spent a profound amount of time doing something that defines us creatively. And they sent us this beautiful gift after the project, which you have hanging in our studio. But not only did we create something we think had meaning for the audience, but it had meaning to our lives. And that's how we see creativity.
And we're fueled by optimism. I mean, if you think about negativity, there's a lot in the world and it's corrosive. And the idea of thinking about the future through optimistic eyes and through positivity is really empowering and liberating. And one of the businesses that we work with in the UK is a company called British Land, a 166-year-old real estate company. And they have different neighborhoods in London that they're redeveloping. And one of them that we worked with was a campus called Regent's Place, which, if you're familiar with London, there's kind of the cool, hip Camden, there's Fitzrovia, and the Knowledge Quarter, where a lot of the universities of London live. And Regent's Place is in the intersection of those. On the left, you see the Regent's Place logo of old. It's cold, it's exclusive, it doesn't invite the community in. And on the right is the softer, more emotive world that we developed. But really what anchors this are ideas. And in this case, it's RISE, which is an acronym for Responsible, Inclusive, Sustainable Environment. It's about doing the right thing and baking that hardwired into the business itself. So even simple things like signage become discreet and invisible. The identity disappears and it's what you see behind. We're using reclaimed wood. It's human scale. But more importantly than that, it's actually about inviting the community in. This is Jane Ridderford, founder of Global Generation, and it's about giving the community a voice. So although we're building environments, we have to allow people to come into that and create spaces that are extremely transparent. And the identity has to evolve over the next decade. These things change over time, so we're building things that feel radically soft in this case, that invite people in and transparent and that evolve over time. So projects like this mean that we have to raise our gaze and look to the future and adapt to what's coming up next. And definitely include people in. So as I was saying, you know, the choices are, they matter. So we're using water-based inks on reclaimed fly posters for some of the communications. And even the choices of ink and the fonts matter. So all of these things come back to the idea of thinking about things with positivity, responsibility, and doing the right thing.
Thanks, Paul. And I was saying, the design systems we create are ecosystems. They're digital, real-world, everything. So we have to think about everything to design everything. So there's a kind of nerdy craft to that. And this is what we get shown. This is a Hulu, an entertainment brand in America, a streaming platform. It exists, it's complex, but it's very fractured. And the question is, how do we get a thread through that? How do we create one Hulu rather than a set of disparate parts for people? And we like the idea of simplicity, ideas that drive things. So Hulu means a vessel, the holder of, well, it's a gourd, a vessel that holds precious things. And we like that idea, the idea that they're bringing things that are meaningful and important to people. But we also think when you're designing at scale for lots of people, you need things that drive that narrative and the design choices you make. So in this case, it's about telling stories. It's not just about projecting messages. It's about building a narrative. It's about being innately human, about doing it differently on their terms. We think distinction is a really important part of branding. And it's also about what's essential at that moment, because there's too much noise, there's too much craziness in the world. So we need to figure out how we get to people. Because you need to find signal in that noise. You have to create strategies, the design elements, the brand outside, inside, marketing, product, social. It's a very, very complex space. And if you don't find a signal in the noise, you can't find a system which is adaptive to the world. And that's what's needed now. You need to create a system which is on when it's on and it's not when it's not. It's the brand when it needs to be, but it's the thing you want when you want it. And that's because it should feel seamless to the audience. They don't know we create these things, but they can definitely feel them. If it's personalized, it's easy to use, and it fits into their lives. And that's because all the little detailed choices we make about things like typography, how it moves, the way it sounds, they build up to be a recipe which fixes and flexes. It basically is rigid when it needs to be and has a through line, but it adapts at the point of impact with people. Because this is inherently the challenge. This is what we have to do. We have to connect people who see a billboard in Times Square or on the side of a bus and take them through the journey of onboarding technically, onboarding through the product, through the digital platforms, all the way to the point where they want to binge on their favorite TV show, their favorite movie, and they could be at home with friends or they could be sat on a bus. And it's that sense of how we do that, I think, is important. And I guess there's a kind of question or a thing in the room about technology, the future, the way that we all kind of work and think, and potentially more than that. And since Aporva and I have been working, there's a number of radical things that have happened. When I started my career, the internet didn't work. We've had social media, we have TikTok, so we all like dancing to kind of cool things. But the elephant in the room is AI. This idea that there's an existential crisis for the industry. What does it mean to our jobs, our roles, our lives? What does it mean to things beyond our industry? And when we think about the human-driven perspective we have for design and creativity, and the idea that you need to push further and do more for people and be more radical, this is how we see any technology change. It's an opportunity. So if you think about our industries as a pyramid, at the bottom is the terrible work, the mediocre stuff, the grunge, the stuff you don't want to do. And then there's the average work, which is a little bit trend-based. It's okay. It's not really changing the dial. It doesn't have any depth to it. Then you get to the work that's original. It's great. It has meaning. It's serving people better. And then you get to the top of the chain, and it's about how you are artistic, how you invent, what defines humanity, what insights drive what we do. And that's where raw creation is. And our belief is things like AI and the technologies we all use, if you fuel them with things that have meaning and are personal and they're kind of insight-driven, but they're also intuitive and they're personal and a little bit weird, there's a place for us. And then when we use tools like AI, we'll be able to facilitate those things in a much stronger way.
So we're going to end on this rather dramatic statement of reinvent or die. I think it's been a mantra of ours from day one, being always in beta, essentially. There's a sense of regeneration. And Simon's talking about the top of that pyramid. It's what's beyond that, the sense of potential. And as a company, we're always, and I think as agencies, I guess, in the room or as an industry, there's an opportunity to define what's next. Being a creative is so empowering, and we can use that to change the future. So whether that's small things in a delightful moment or big things at scale, I think it's our responsibility to do that. And as a company, we are doing that at the moment. We're essentially forgetting what we know and starting again, relearning what we've learned and defining new futures. So whether that's in gaming or AI or creating a book or new stories or filmmaking, for us, that's invention and ideas, and it keeps us fresh and it keeps us moving forward. And hopefully we can add something back to the world and the industry itself. So we're super excited for what's next. Thank you.